Hey, nightmares. Tonight we wander into the heart of decaying grandeur, a place where beauty drips like candle wax over terror, and the past clings not like cobwebs but like hands. You are in Venice. The air itself seems older here, perfumed with centuries of salt, ash, and drowned secrets. And tonight, you're pushing open the heavy side door of the Teatro Malombra, a once glorious opera house rarely spoken of even among the city's oldest guides. They say it still holds performances. They say the lights still rise. They say you can still hear the applause. But no one who's gone inside has ever brought back a program. A velvet hush falls as soon as you cross the threshold, the kind of silence that hums with buried noise. Your footsteps dissolve into the thick carpet, yet still they echo faintly, as if someone is walking exactly one pace behind you. You pause. The echo does not. So, before the shadows deepen and the whispers begin, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely dare to journey into the unknown with me. Let me know your location and local time in the comments, if only to remind yourself that you're still somewhere real. Now, extinguish every light, perhaps pull your blanket tighter, and let's descend into tonight's chilling journey together. The lobby is grand, too grand. A Baroque mural overhead depicts muses with mouths sewn shut, pouring music into the ears of faceless men. Beneath it, the chandelier sways gently, though the air is still. You stand alone, but you feel, acutely, that you are being watched. You've entered places before that felt eerie, but this is different. This is aware. The box office window is empty. No ticket, no usher. But the red rope across the marble stairwell is already unhooked, beckoning you up. The higher you ascend, the colder the air becomes, not a biting cold, but a damp, slow chill that seeps in like mold. On the walls, aged portraits of past performers, some with eyes scratched out, some with their names etched over in fresh ink. One frame is empty, shattered. The plaque reads only, Tenor sconosciuto mai dimenticato. Unknown tenor, never forgotten. At the top, a wide door painted a dull, heavy red. You reach for the handle and hesitate. Something presses down on your chest, a pressure without source. But still, you enter. Inside, the theater yawns open before you, wrapped in shadows, yet unmistakably majestic. Crimson velvet drapes, a golden ceiling fresco depicting Orpheus among ghosts. Every box seat dark, except one. Box 5. Lit. Empty. No, it is. Your eyes adjust. There's movement, not a person exactly, but the suggestion of shape, a bend in the black, watching. You blink and it's gone, but the chair still rocks. The heavy, slow creak drifts down the hall like a lullaby turned sinister. From the stage below, a single piano note sounds, crisp, icy, wrong. You descend the side steps, drawn by it. The stage feels unstable, the boards flexing beneath your weight. At center stage, a dusty harpsichord sits untouched for years. And yet that key is pressed down, held by nothing. A moment passes. It lifts. The silence afterward is immense. Then a whisper, not from the instrument, not from the wings, from above. The cat walks. A phrase in Venetian dialect, too quick to catch. But behind it, breath, ragged, human. Or something close to it. You back toward the curtain, brushing against the heavy damask. It ripples, though you haven't moved it. Behind the curtain is only wall. No, there's a door. A small service door, iron-bound, nearly invisible. You open it, darkness. A staircase spirals downward, stone ancient, wet, and from somewhere below you swear you hear humming. Not a tune, a vibration. One note, always that same note. You descend. Along the wall, faint scratches. Sempre el occhio mai chiuso. The eye is always open. You don't know how long you've been walking. The air grows thicker, not just damp but heavy, like theater fog, but it clings to your skin. Below, the stairs open into an old chamber. Brick walls, arched ceiling, lined with rusted instruments. Stage props. No, you recognize these, restraints, spikes. One chair still holds what looks like a costume, torn, soaked, and moving just slightly. From the darkness, a sound, S-H-H-H, S-H-H-H. A hush meant to soothe, or silence. A memory intrudes. Did you ever read about that 18th century custom? The whispering death. In parts of Europe, some believed that speaking the final words of the dying aloud gave them freedom. But if whispered back into the ear, their souls would never leave. This place has whispered many times. You are not the first to wander here, and you will not leave untouched. A faint trail of water leads from the back wall, seeping under a door. You follow it, knowing somehow that it leads not out, but deeper. Deeper into a truth that sees you. Scholars still grapple with the true nature of echo phenomena in places of intense trauma. Some say it's stone recording memory. Others say it's the shadow of what's not yet over. But if this place is still remembering, what is it waiting to repeat? You reach the next door. The shadows lean toward you, waiting. The door creaks inward, not loudly, not with resistance, but like an exhale. You hesitate on the threshold because the air on the other side feels wrong. It's not just colder, it's thinner, as if the room beyond has been holding its breath for far too long and is ready to inhale you. Inside, darkness, not total but swathed in sickly hues. A lantern, dim and flickering, swings slowly on a rusted hook near the ceiling. Its light casts long, distended shadows that stretch unnaturally across the warped brick. At first glance, there's nothing here. Then your eyes catch on the stage props. No, not props. Statues. No, again, no. Figures. Mannequins in elaborate 19th century opera attire, arranged like a forgotten chorus line. Their faces are smooth, featureless porcelain, but their heads are turned toward you, not the stage, not the conductor's pit, every single one. Their arms are poised as if mid-performance, fingers forever curled, mouths frozen in a song you'll never hear. Until you do. Somewhere in the room, a soft soprano hum begins. It isn't coming from a speaker. It isn't coming from behind you. It's coming from within the mannequins. You move forward. The floor creaks in protest and something crunches beneath your boot. You look down. Old, brittle sheet music splintered across the floor like bones. As you kneel to examine it, you spot a peculiar name scribbled in an inky hand. Aria per kai, I grav gia morto. Aria for the already dead. The melody continues. It grows in complexity, still wordless but now layered. Voices join. Male, female, overlapping, harmonizing. Some dissonant, some disturbingly beautiful. But you're alone. A fringe detail from your memory stirs. During the plague years, Venetian bodies were sometimes buried in the crypts of theaters, beneath stages, beneath dressing rooms, especially when the canals overflowed and the graveyards were inaccessible. Teatro Malombra, being the lowest in elevation, earned the moniker La Bocca dei Morti, the mouth of the dead. And like all mouths, sometimes it sings. The door at the far side opens on its own, just enough to suggest invitation. You move toward it, passing between the mannequins. You tell yourself their arms haven't moved. You need to tell yourself that. Through the next corridor, you find yourself in what must once have been a dressing room. Multiple, in fact, connected through fractured archways. The walls are lined with ancient mirrors, each fogged with age and some cracked in patterns resembling spiderwebs. But what reflects in them is not quite you. In one, your coat is missing. In another, your mouth is open when yours is shut. In a third, there is a second figure behind you, tall, masked, hands gently resting on your shoulders. You whirl. There is no one. You press forward, faster now, pulse beginning to rise. But not from fear, not fully. It's that feeling. The one you get when you know you're already past the point of return. You reach a room where red drapes hang like skin, sagging and rotted, concealing alcoves. You draw one aside. Inside, a costume, 18th century, dusty, tailored for a woman, corseted, you reach for it. It shudders. Just once. You don't touch it again. Instead, you glance up and notice the writing etched into the dressing room mirror above the vanity. Written backward, as though intended to be read through the reflection. The aria never ended. You are simply singing next. A laugh escapes you, a wrong laugh, a gallows chuckle that doesn't belong to this moment, except it does. The sort of laugh you might let out when you realize the basement door locked behind you, when the elevator won't go up, when the water starts rising and you don't know how to swim. A laugh that means, "Ah, I see, it's already too late." There's a sound now, low, rhythmic. Footsteps. Slow. They don't match your breath, your movement, or your memory. But they are following. You flee the dressing hall, re-entering a narrow passage where walls lean closer than architecture should allow. You recognize a hallway from earlier, but the doors have changed. One of them has your name on it. You've never given your name in this story. And yet, there it is, embossed in gilt on the old wood. You touch the handle. It's warm. The moment you turn it, you hear that soprano voice again, closer now, less ethereal, real. She's singing your name. Inside, the room is set like a 1700s green room. Couch, vanity, tea service. Someone has just poured the tea. Steam curls up in the shape of a treble clef before dispersing. The chair beside the table is rocking gently. You sit. You don't know why. The tea smells of something floral and something else, something metallic. And for the first time, you notice the score on the table. It bears the same title, Aria per Kai I Grave Gia Morto. But now the composer's name is visible. It's yours. It's handwritten, elegant, undeniable. And when you look in the mirror, truly look, you see the makeup on your face. Stage makeup. The rouge, the mascara, the soft powder blending seamlessly into skin that isn't yours. And eyes that aren't quite right. They blink too slowly. Behind you, the masked figure watches. No longer hidden in reflection, holding a conductor's baton. You do not scream. You bow. You rise. And you walk through the door at the back of the green room, onto the stage. The theater is full, but not of people. The audience is a sea of masks, every row filled. Some Venetian carnival, some featureless, some grotesque caricatures from lost centuries. None move, but they see you. And as the curtain rises, you finally hear the conductor whisper the opening note. The aria begins. You inhale, and you know it will never end. Not until someone else takes your place. Scholars still grapple with the phenomenon of collective hallucination among collapsed theater troupes. Mass disassociation, shared delusion. They called it la syndrome del sipario eterno. The endless curtain syndrome. But if this is a dream, why does the applause feel wet on your skin? It begins again. You're not sure how long you've been standing in place, beneath the spotlight that now burns like a miniature sun. Your mouth has just stopped moving. Your hands still hover mid-gesture. The note you held for what felt like hours fades into the air, not with silence, but with a shiver, as though something ancient just fed on it. The velvet curtain remains raised. The masked audience is unmoving, yet their presence thickens. Not like a crowd, but like fog with weight. There is no cough, no shuffle, no breath. You wait for the conductor to signal your exit, but he has vanished. In his place, a woman now sits in the orchestra pit. Pale, gaunt, wearing what was once the white of a prima donna's costume, now grayed by ash and time. Her hands rest in her lap, but her eyes are the color of old water and show no reflection. She mouths something. You strain to read her lips. Encore. The spotlight flares, blinds you. And suddenly, you're back in the wings. No footsteps, no cues. The velvet curtains no longer respond to ropes. The theater holds its breath once more, and you know the cycle has restarted. You hear your own voice singing, but you're no longer moving your mouth. You reach for your throat and find it cold. Not just your skin. The air around your neck is colder than your body, as though you're being preserved. Frozen in a role no one ever auditions for. Backstage, the props have changed. A coffin sits center stage behind the curtain now, unmarked. Its lid is ajar. Inside, barely visible under a sheer veil of cobwebs, sheet music stained with salt and ink, and something else. A human jawbone. You step away. A low, thrumming sound builds, like the echo of applause but warped. Applause from another realm. It has no rhythm, just need. You try to leave the stage. The hallway beyond is there. But so is a new door, one that wasn't there before. Glossy black, framed in red lacquer, it pulses with light as though breathing. You choose it. Behind it, a long corridor of mirrors stretches ahead. You step in, and the door shuts behind you with the finality of a sealed tomb. Each mirror reflects you, but differently. In one, you're dressed in the garb of a 1700s plague doctor, mask and all. In another, you're in tattered rags, mouth sewn shut. In a third, you're still, frozen, a wax figure with your face, and in a fourth, there's nothing. No reflection. Just the echo of your breathing, until even that vanishes. There's a chill folklore tradition few speak of. In early Venetian carnival lore, the final mask one wears becomes the soul's resting face. Some say if you die in mask, your soul forgets how to take it off. It wanders, expressionless, through every reflection it once occupied. You feel your own expression tighten. Your face feels heavier, less yours. The corridor ends at a heavy wooden trapdoor marked with a symbol you don't recognize, like a clef cleaved by a sickle. Beneath it, muffled music. A piano, yes, but the tune falters, as if the instrument is broken, or the player is trying to forget the keys as they go. You lift the trapdoor and descend into the dark. The ladder descends for far too long. As you descend, the walls pulse like a throat. At the bottom, a room with no walls. Only blackness, stitched with faint golden lights like stars, except they flicker too fast. They resemble blinking eyes. The stage floats in the center. A solitary figure stands on it, a girl, 10, 12, clad in an antique dress, clutching a broken violin. She doesn't move, but you can hear her humming the wrong tune, half a semitone too low. You approach. The moment your foot touches the stage, she lifts her head. No face. Just a smooth canvas of flesh where features might once have been. But you recognize her. That birthmark on her neck, that necklace. It's your sister, S. Except your sister is alive. She never came to Venice. Did she? She raises the violin and begins to play. The strings screech and whimper like wind through broken shutters. You try to back away, but you're no longer on the stage. You're in the audience. And your sister who should be real, breathing, laughing, is now the star performer in a show that wants you to watch forever. You try to scream. Nothing. You try to move. Stuck. You try to close your eyes, and they burn. Above the stars, the eyes blink faster. The audience around you remains still. Then a voice, close, next to your ear. You missed your cue. It is the same voice from box 5. The breath is warm, wet. You turn, no one. But you know what comes next. The curtain never falls. It only waits. You may not remember how long you've been here, but the theater remembers you, and it will call you back again. Scholars still grapple with reports from the 1930s when 3 opera houses across Europe documented actors waking in the wrong roles, scripts rewritten in languages none of them spoke. They called it La Voce Nascosta, the hidden voice. It always knew your name. It always wanted an encore. You rise. You step toward the next act. You do not remember your name. But the opera does. The name comes to you in fragments now. Not yours, his. The maestro. You don't recall ever seeing him clearly, just glimpses in reflections, impressions left behind in the dust of dressing room pianos, and that rhythmic tap-tap-tap of a baton on wood, echoing long after it should have ended. But as you move forward, deeper into the underbelly of the Teatro Malombra, his presence sharpens, like a cold draft that always knows your spine. You are in the orchestra pit now, or what remains of it. The room has collapsed in strange ways, chairs twisted, music stands rusted into skeletal angles. Yet in the center, immaculate and untouched, stands a conductor's podium. The baton waits atop it. You don't want to pick it up. Your hand moves anyway. The wood is warm, pulsing, not just from within, but in tune with your heart until it overrides it. Your pulse slows, the world dims, all becomes sound. Behind you, instruments begin to tune themselves. One by one. The cello moans, the flute exhales, the timpani rumbles like distant thunder, the violin screams softly. But there are no players. Not living ones. You turn to flee, but you can't. Your feet root to the floor as though the theater itself is claiming you. You raise the baton, not by choice, by obligation. And as you do, they appear. Musicians in tattered formal wear step out from the shadows. some with eyes sewn shut, others with their mouths still wide in a silent aria. Their instruments are worn, bone-handled bows, strings that gleam like hair, flutes made of silvered vertebrae. They tune, and they watch. You try not to meet their gaze. But you fail. One of them looks like your grandfather. Another looks like your reflection. The cellist's hands are burnt at the fingertips, yet she plays flawlessly, as though the pain is part of the score. And then you hear it. The maestro's voice. Not spoken aloud, but pressed into your thoughts like a heavy stone. You are not the first. You will not be the last. You hear laughter then, from above. A box seat creaks open, slow and deliberate. From it, a figure leans over the railing. The maestro. His mask is not like the others. It's carved from dark wood, lacquered to a mirror shine. The eyes are hollow. Smoke curls from them. His hands rest on the railing, long fingers, stained black at the tips. He nods once. Your baton lifts. And the orchestra begins to play. The sound is sublime. It's terrible. It's sacred. It's wrong. It tells a story you don't understand, yet feel you've lived. Notes that pierce you. Harmonies that pull memories you didn't make from the back of your skull and twist them into dissonance. You think you hear your mother sobbing. You think you hear yourself as a child, screaming from behind a wall you don't remember building. The musicians don't blink, they don't breathe, but they play. Somewhere in the song, the audience joins in. 1,000 masked voices hum in unison. The opera is alive again. A fringe scholar once wrote that Venetian composers believed music could open death echoes, moments in time so charged with emotion that they imprint on sound itself. When played correctly, these pieces don't just evoke feelings. They resurrect them. You drop the baton. The music continues without you. The maestro nods once more. And then he vanishes. So does the orchestra. So does the audience. You are alone again. But not unobserved. The mirrors flicker. You hear applause, but it's coming from behind you now. You turn and a dressing mirror stands where the podium was. Your reflection claps slowly, mockingly. You look exhausted. Your eyes are not your own. The mirror fogs, and across its surface, words scrawl backward as if from an unseen finger. He never stopped conducting. You walk. You must. You pass through a corridor lined with framed programs, every opera ever performed at Teatro Malombra. Names you recognize, most you don't. One page is marked with an X, blood-colored ink, no title, no composer. Just the word, Adagio Finale. A soft gasp escapes your lips, because beside it is your photograph. It's not a drawing, not a trick of the light. A real photograph, framed and aged as if it had always been there. Beneath it, tonight's guest conductor, unforgettable, The plaque is dated 3 centuries ago. Your name is written perfectly. Your age is wrong. You flee. Every footstep echoes louder than the last. The shadows begin to move again, but not with menace. With choreography. They twirl around you in tandem, a corps de ballet made of smoke and memory. Their steps whisper on the boards. Their arms raise in gestures of pleading, of farewell, of warning. And they all have your face. Every one. You pass through them and into a chamber you haven't seen before. A circular room. A gallery of portraits. Every frame contains the same man. The maestro. But in every painting, his hands are different. One shows them clasped in prayer. One bloody reaching. One playing a violin carved from ribs. One tearing a script in half, eyes wild with laughter. And beneath each one, a name scratched out. Only one name remains legible. It is yours. Below it, the hands endure even when the soul frays. You try to scream, but music answers instead. Your mouth opens and the aria returns, slow, soft, and final. You've never learned it. But somehow, you know every note. Scholars still debate the rare phenomenon known as possession musicale, when unknown compositions flood the minds of strangers with no musical training. One theory suggests the music writes the mind, not the other way around. If that is true, then you are no longer yourself. You are the next movement. You don't remember walking into the box. You only realize it when you feel the worn velvet beneath your fingers and the scent of old incense in your lungs, sweet, cloying, and faintly sour, like something long dead still offering perfume. Box 5. The infamous seat. In every story, every whispered legend around Teatro Malombra, this is the place no usher ever cleans, no guest ever sits. They say it reserves itself. And tonight, it reserved you. The seat rocks gently under your weight. You don't recall sitting down. The railing before you is etched with grooves, initials, claw marks, and one long message scrawled like a frantic note. If you see yourself on stage, do not clap. You glance down. The stage is empty. For now. From this height, the entire theater unfurls below you like a dark mouth. The red curtain billows slightly, though no wind moves it. The stage glimmers not from light, but from the wet sheen of something recent. Water, perhaps. Or sweat. Or bloodless tears. You breathe deep and regret it. The box has its own air, coppery and old. Something lived here, something still might. Beside you, the second seat creaks. Empty. And yet, you hear someone there. It's not moving, breathing. The kind of breath that doesn't want to be noticed. You glance out of the corner of your eye, nothing visible. But your shadow elongates across the box, and another stretches with it, not mimicking yours, but separate, swaying slightly, as if humming. This is when you notice the opera glasses sitting in your lap. You did not bring them here. You lift them. Through the twin lenses, the theater becomes different. The velvet turns to flesh. The chandelier above drips not with wax, but melted faces, frozen mid-expression. The murals writhe slowly. The muses' eyes turn to follow you. And then the stage curtain rips downward, not up, and behind it stands a figure. Yourself. Hair slightly disheveled, eyes distant, costume unfamiliar, arms outstretched like a marionette dancing to invisible strings. You lower the glasses. The stage is empty again. You raise them, your back. But now, you on stage is staring up. Right at box 5. Right at you. The mirror image smiles, lazily, sadly, and begins to walk off stage, toward the wings. A second figure enters. The maestro. This time, without his mask. His face is wrong. It holds too many expressions at once. Grief, hunger, pride, amusement, each flickering across his features like bad theater lighting. His hands trail smoke, fingers twisting midair as if conducting invisible strings that tether to your very bones. And still, no music plays. Only silence. Then a whisper. In the seat beside you. You never left. You don't turn. Instead, your body rises of its own accord, not possessed, but gently encouraged, as if you're being invited back into a role once learned, long forgotten, now remembered at last. The door to the box creaks open behind you. A flood of cold air rushes in, bearing with it a sound you hoped not to hear again, the hollow applause. Not from the audience. From beneath the floorboards. The applause of what lies below the stage. Venetian superstition tells of the morti ascoltanti, the listening dead. Spirits who linger in silence until they hear their own stories retold. Then they applaud. It is never good to hear that applause. You exit box 5. The hallway beyond twists. Literally. The floor curves upward like a spine, and the lanterns flicker red instead of gold. The velvet wallpaper slithers in and out of patterns that seem familiar, sheet music, perhaps, but every note resembles an open mouth. You reach a small landing with a door you've never seen. It's carved with the emblem of Teatro Malombra. Only now do you realize it's not a mask. It's a face. Frozen in the moment of silence before a scream. You open the door and step into the archivio, an old archive room lined with scrolls, parchments, and shattered music boxes. One turns slowly on a broken axle. It plays no music, only static and the faint sounds of sobbing. A candle burns beside an open score. You lean in. This one is labeled Requiem for the forgotten performer. No composer, No instrumentation, just lyrics. You read them. They describe your movements. Now, as you read. And the last line. If you've reached this line, they've begun watching through your eyes. Suddenly, the candle extinguishes. And the mirror on the far wall reveals not your reflection, but them. The audience. Behind the mirror. Pressed close. Hundreds of masks. Some hands raised, as if tapping gently, begging release. Or offering applause. The entire wall begins to murmur. A chant you can't decipher. But you recognize the cadence. The curtain call. The performance is about to resume. You are being summoned. Not to sing. Not to conduct. But to watch. From box 5. For the rest of eternity. Scholars still debate the authenticity of the vox lemines, an opera said to erase memory and replace identity with its libretto. Only one score remains, locked deep in the archives of the Venice State Library. Or so they claim. But you're already holding a copy. And the next page has your name on it. The laughter begins softly, so soft that at first you mistake it for the creaking of old beams or the rustling of your own breath. But then it grows, layered, genteel, eager. It is not the laughter of amusement. It is the laughter of rehearsal. You are in a corridor gilded with false gold and lined with cracked doors, each one bearing a performer's name etched in tarnished brass. You pass soprano number 2, Il Buffone, Madame Contessa. Most plates have been scratched out as if someone wanted them forgotten, or as if the performers themselves demanded anonymity from beyond. You stop at one marked stanza dei Giaci, the playroom. The laughter is loudest here. Something about that word, play, feels wrong now. The door is already ajar. Inside, gaslight flickers from ornate sconces, though none are lit by flame. The light pulses like breathing, casting golden glows across a room frozen in rehearsal. Costumed actors stand mid-movement, one's hand frozen in a flamboyant flourish, another caught in a deep bow, a third with her mouth open in a laugh that does not move her face. But they are not mannequins. Their flesh is waxy, their eyes glass, and yet you swear they blinked. On the wall, a sign, tonight's comedy, La Fin della Maschera, a farce in 3 acts. The end of the mask. A stage play. But the curtains in this room don't part, they encircle. The entire space is the performance. And you're now inside it. A harlequin puppet drops from the ceiling with a clatter. Its head rolls sideways and looks at you. Painted lips peel into a smile that's too wide. You back away. But the door has disappeared. Behind you, the actors move. Not all at once, not suddenly. One arm twitches, another foot scuffs against the floor. A chuckle rattles from the harlequin. Then one of them, An actor with his face painted white and tears drawn beneath his eyes speaks. You're late. You try to deny it, but a second voice follows. We waited. A third. We never stopped performing. They turn toward you in unison. Their laughter resumes. But now it is for you. And they applaud. You realize the floor is not wood, but layers of old playbills and headshots, each stained with red ink or something that used to be ink. You recognize a name among them. Yours. Dated decades before you were born. The lead role, Il Viaggiatore Perduto, the lost traveler. The wax-faced actors begin to move with purpose, circling you. Their choreography is unnatural, jerky, slow, but precise. One holds out a script. You take it. Its pages are blank until you blink. Now it's full. Every line is a question you don't want to answer. Who were you before you stepped through the stage door? How many times have you performed this already? What must you forget to truly escape? You drop the script. The actors stop. The clown steps forward. He lifts his painted mask. Beneath it is your own face. Twisted in mockery, eyes wide, lips frozen in a final laugh. He holds the mask out to you. You do not take it. You run. The curtains draw themselves aside, revealing a narrow passage behind the stage. You push through it, heart hammering. You emerge in the ballroom. Or what's left of it. Gilt walls, mirrored pillars, a chandelier overhead formed entirely from glass hands, each clasped in prayer. The ballroom is abandoned, but the floor is dusty with footprints. 2 sets. Yours. And someone else's. The laughter echoes still. It bounces in from all sides, and with it a tune light, airy, deceptively joyful, a carnival reel played backward. On the far end of the ballroom, a piano begins to play. No one sits at it. Yet the keys dance. A melody from a century ago. Dance dei Buratini per Giudi. Dance of the lost puppets. It's said that in the late 1800s, a composer died mid-performance while playing this very piece. Legend claimed that after his death, the piano continued the song on its own. Those who heard it to the end were never seen again, except sometimes on stage. You're hearing it now. You're nearly halfway through. You press your hands over your ears. It doesn't help. The sound is inside your head. The mirrors surrounding the ballroom fog. Shapes appear behind the glass, figures pressed close, not trying to escape but to watch. Each wears your face in different expressions, weeping, laughing, silent, screaming. One knocks gently against the glass. Just once. It's enough. You flee through an archway and into a hall of discarded costumes. Masks line the walls, each with an inscription beneath. Worn once, never removed. Final bow, never returned. Smile required, soul forfeited. You pass a mirror. But this time, it doesn't reflect the room. It reflects the theater, completely empty, long abandoned, crumbling, flooded, rotten. You blink, it's gone. You are back in the ballroom. Alone. The laughter has stopped. But you know what comes next. The play's second act. The shadows are already gathering near the wings. And the maestro. He's waiting in the next room. Scholars still debate the meaning behind Venice's carnival legend of I ridenti sepulti, the buried laughers. People said they were cursed performers, forced to repeat their final performance even in death, their giggles echoing from crypt walls. But the most unsettling detail, no one ever remembered what the play was about. Only that they laughed until they didn't. And you are next to forget. You find her behind the stage, through a corridor that bends in a way no architect would allow. The velvet curtains brush your skin like fingers. The air smells of stale perfume and ancient dust, like a dressing room sealed for a century and only now breathing again. The lights flicker, but they do not warm. Instead, they drain color from the world. At the corridor's end, a door. It's heavy, mahogany, lacquered. Etched with a single symbol, a woman's face in profile, mouth open in song, shrouded beneath a lace veil. You hesitate. A rumor drifts through your mind. La voce nascosta, the hidden voice. Some say she was Venice's most gifted soprano, silenced by jealous rivals. Others claim she died mid-performance, entombed beneath the stage where her voice still echoes, unwilling to end the aria. She is nameless now, but not forgotten, and her melody, it finds you. Even before you push open the door, the singing begins. Wordless, pure, rising from somewhere too deep to be real. It does not come from a speaker, a throat, or a memory. It comes from you. Your body hums in response, like a tuning fork struck by invisible hands. The room is small, circular, draped in sheer fabrics that dance though no wind stirs. At the center, a dressing mirror veiled in black lace. A candle burns low beside it. And before the mirror sits the diva. You do not see her face, only her silhouette. Her hands rest neatly in her lap, her head tilted. She sings, but her lips do not move. You feel compelled, no, invited to sit beside her. There's a stool, waiting, perfectly placed. You sit. The music halts. The silence swells so completely that it aches. The kind of silence that rings louder than any symphony. And in that stillness, she speaks. But not aloud. In your head. A whisper, like steam through a keyhole. I gave them everything, even my last breath. They wanted more. You try to stand, but you can't. Your legs are no longer yours. She turns her head toward you, slowly, deliberately, still veiled, still faceless. Yet she sees you. Your reflection appears beside hers. But something is wrong. Your face is beginning to blur, smear, fade, as if being erased by the mirror's breath. And hers. Hers begins to sharpen. Behind the veil, features emerge, beautiful, ageless, agonized. Familiar. Too familiar. You speak, your voice shaking. Who are you? She lifts one hand, points to the mirror, and you read the inscription etched at the top. Only one voice may echo at a time. She rises, and you rise with her. Not willingly, but tethered. The mirror brightens. The veil lifts. And for the briefest moment, you see her full face. It is yours. But changed. Older, haunted, with eyes that have seen too many curtains rise and none fall. The reflection reaches toward you, and the room splits. The candle flares. You find yourself alone again. The diva is gone, but her voice lingers. It is now in you. Humming, waiting, like a second heartbeat. And when you try to speak, it is not your voice that responds. It's hers. You stagger out of the room, desperate for silence, only to find yourself in a corridor lined with ancient photographs. Each performer once associated with the Teatro Malombra, their eyes scratched out, their names missing. Except one. Yours. Burned into the frame. Captioned, the final voice. And someone has written beneath it, hastily, in fresh ink. She sings for you now. You'll sing for them forever. A shiver runs down your spine. Because far off, from behind the stage walls, the audience begins to murmur. Their anticipation thickens the air. You walk faster. The murmur turns to a hum. A single note. You recognize it. The opening of the diva's aria. It follows you through the walls. The ceiling. Your bones. You press your hands over your ears and feel your own jaw begin to move, independent of thought, mouthing the tune. You are becoming her. One note at a time. Venetian operatic lore warns of the cantante perduta, the lost singer. A cursed spirit said to possess those with voices pure enough to carry her unfinished song. Victims often vanish, reappearing only in mirrors or under spotlights, mouths open in silent screams. The diva needed a vessel. You were perfect. And now, the stage awaits your entrance. But not for applause. For consumption. You find the trapdoor beneath the main stage almost by accident, though nothing in this place, by now, can be truly accidental. The floorboards creak under your weight in a strange pattern, like the muttering of wood unsure whether to hold you or let you fall through. Then your foot sinks slightly, just enough to feel water beneath. You kneel. Run your fingers along the edge of a loose board. It lifts far too easily. Beneath it, Steps spiral downward, stone slick, ancient. The air that rises from the gap is frigid and moist, laced with brine and mildew, but also perfume. The same perfume that clung to the diva. You descend. Each step down sounds farther from the waking world. The spiral tightens. Walls narrow. And soon, the walls disappear entirely. You are walking through water. Shin deep. It laps against your boots like something living. The space opens wide. No ceiling, no walls, just vast blackness with a drowned wooden platform in the center, connected by a single narrow plank. You cross. The stage beneath your feet moans softly with every step. As you reach the platform, lanterns flicker to life along the edge, not flames, but cold, phosphorescent glows. The water reflects the light poorly. Beneath the surface, something moves. You kneel and peer into the depths. A face stares back. Not yours. Not hers. Many. Dozens, hundreds. Pale faces pressed against the water's underside, eyes open, mouths agape, singing. But no sound rises. You stagger back, and your foot lands on a rope. It's thick, wet, slick. It trails off into the water like a mooring line. At the other end, a curtain rises. Underwater. You see a submerged proscenium arch, pillars, velvet, and crumbled stone swallowed by time. Beneath it, ghostly figures move. An orchestra. Drowned, but still performing. Their instruments rot in their hands. Their eyes lock onto yours. They see you. They've been seeing you. You turn to run, but the plank is gone. The water rises. You look down again. Now, the faces beneath the water are singing in harmony. You hear nothing. But inside your bones, the sound swells. Your ribs vibrate. Your spine hums. Your teeth ache. The melody is not meant for ears. It's meant for marrow. A ripple breaks the surface. One of the drowned is floating upward. You recognize her. The diva. Arms outstretched, veil dissolving into algae, her face serene. Her mouth opens. And now you hear it. A perfect note, one that should not survive underwater. A sound so beautiful it feels like being flayed with silk. You scream. The water rushes in, all at once. You fall beneath it. The world disappears. You are sinking but not drowning. No air bubbles rise. No pressure builds. The laws of physics hesitate here. Around you, the submerged theater thrives. Chandeliers sway in the current. Curtains billow like lungs. Seats carved from coral. Sheet music drifting like jellyfish. You land on the stage. The drowned performers surround you, forming a silent chorus. At center stage, a throne of barnacled gold. And sitting upon it, The maestro. Mask gone. His face is yours. Not exactly, but close. As though carved from your future, lines deeper, eyes sunken, mouth curled in the faintest hint of triumph. He raises one finger, points upward, and the ceiling of the water parts. A spotlight beams down, rippling and pale. It lands on you. You try to speak, only bubbles. The maestro rises, steps forward, places his hand on your chest. Your heart stops, then begins again, but not in your rhythm. In his. You rise. You open your mouth. And this time you sing. The aria flows out, too perfect, too ancient, too endless. You realize you've sung it before. Many times. Every time someone new opens the trapdoor. The maestro nods. You've earned your place. The curtain falls behind you. And now, somewhere above, on the dry stage of the opera house, the first note of the next performance begins. They've found another voice. And yours now echoes from the deep. A superstition whispers of El Acqua della Memoria, the memory water, said to pool beneath the oldest theaters, formed from the tears of every performer who died unsatisfied. If touched, it grants perfect recall of forgotten songs. But if swallowed, you belong to the memory. Forever. You awaken backstage. Or what looks like backstage. The floor is dry now. No water clings to your skin, but your clothes smell of salt and age. The air is thick with candle wax, powder, and something else, something like scorched parchment or singed hair. Red velvet surrounds you, drapes, curtains, upholstery, all worn smooth by the passage of countless hands. But none are here now. And yet, you are not alone. Whispers flutter at the edges of your hearing. Too hushed to make out. Too urgent to ignore. Your legs move. A corridor guides you through a maze of soft fabric. You brush aside curtain after curtain, deeper into the folds, deeper into the silence, until you reach a small chamber. Circular, windowless. An altar sits at its center, velvet draped, candle lit. Laid upon it, a performer's journal. The leather is cracked, the spine frayed. Your fingers move before you think. You open it. Every page is the same. One phrase, written again and again in dark ink, until the final page, where the words are scrawled so furiously that the page is torn. We all whispered the same name, and none of us remember why. Your throat tightens. Because just beneath that line, a signature has been smeared. Your own. You didn't write this, did you? Or did you, once, in a version of yourself that never left the theater? The candles flicker. One by one, they extinguish. The velvet behind you shifts. You turn. A circle of masked performers now surrounds the chamber, silent, breathless. One steps forward. The Harlequin. You've seen him before. His mask is cracked now. Beneath it, nothing but teeth. He holds out a small slip of parchment. You take it. It's a contract. No title. Just 3 lines. One aria, sung willingly. One vow, spoken in silence. One name, forgotten in exchange for a place. At the bottom, a space for your signature. Your hand twitches. A pen is already in it. You do not remember picking it up. A laugh tickles your throat. Not yours. You sign. The ink seeps deep, vanishing into the paper. The performers bow in unison. The Harlequin steps aside, revealing a door behind him. It opens before you touch it. Beyond is a room you hoped you'd never see again. The original stage, now bathed in red. Floodlights cast no warmth. The theater is full. An audience of shadows. Some human-shaped. Others not. The maestro stands beside the curtain. He nods. You step forward. A music stand awaits you. Your voice rises before you intend it to. It is clear, powerful, no longer yours. It belongs to the contract. You sing. Every note threads into the velvet air like blood into silk. The audience listens, unmoving. They do not blink. They do not breathe. But they hear. And they approve. At the aria's end, the maestro approaches you. He hands you a single red rose. Its petals are bruised. Its thorns drip with something dark. He whispers into your ear. You've joined the pact. You may forget this night, but we never will. He turns away. The curtain falls. You blink. And you're back in the dressing room. Alone. Your reflection watches you. It mouths the final verse. You do not recognize the language, but your lips move with it. Behind you, the door opens. A fresh performer walks in. You smile. The velvet pact continues. There's an old Venetian superstition whispered only among aging opera staff about Il Patto Rosso, the Red Pact. They say every successful show owes itself to a single vow spoken in silence by those behind the curtain. A name whispered without memory. A voice offered without knowing. A soul replaced with song. And once whispered, you sing forever. You find yourself wandering the upper galleries now. Those darkened aisles above the main stage where the cheap seats once sat, their wooden benches worn smooth by time and trembling backs. The higher you go, the colder it becomes. The air smells like mildew and candle smoke that never went out. You can't remember deciding to climb, only that your feet moved of their own accord. And the silence has changed. It is too complete, too heavy. Even your breath dares not echo here. The door at the top of the staircase creaks open into a long-forgotten balcony, coated in dust so thick that it muffles your footfalls completely. But the benches, they are full. You stop cold. Every seat is taken, but not by people. Mannequins. Dozens, maybe hundreds. All turned toward the stage. Each one dressed in crumbling, moth-eaten finery. Every head turned slightly, every glass eye fixed toward the crimson curtain. Not one of them moves. Yet you know they're waiting. You edge down the aisle, unsure what you're looking for. Then your foot brushes against something soft. A folded program. You unfold it with trembling fingers. Tonight's performance, Concerto della Spite Sconosciuto, Concerto of the Unnamed Guest. There is no cast list, no composer, no synopsis. Only a dedication, printed in faded ink. To the one who wandered too far and listened too long. You feel their gaze now. The mannequins. Not a single head turns. And yet they are watching. Something shifts at the corner of your vision. You whirl. Nothing. But the bench nearest you now holds an empty seat. You don't remember that. And next to it, a mask. Ivory. Plain. Waiting. You back away, but the door has closed behind you. Locked. The mannequin beside the empty seat leans forward ever so slightly. Its hand is outstretched, holding a mirror the size of a playing card. You take it. In its reflection, you see yourself. Only your face is blank. No features. Just smooth, white skin like the mannequins. You drop it. The applause begins. Soft, hollow. From the audience of none. From the mannequins. Their hands clap in perfect rhythm, too slow, too synchronized. As if they've practiced this for centuries. You stumble down the aisle, your pulse hammering. But the gallery curves in a perfect circle. You cannot reach the stairs. You pass a door labeled Projection Room. A strange label for an opera house. Inside, a crank projector humming without electricity. It flickers silently. You step closer. The film plays on the far wall. It shows you, sitting in that empty seat, clapping along, wearing the mask. The projection loops, then burns out in a sudden burst of smoke. And behind you, that same seat is no longer empty. You don't dare look, but you feel it. Warmth, breath. The mannequin has become you. Or maybe you became it. You run, at least you try. The floor warps beneath your feet like the curve of a stage. The mannequins rise. Not swiftly. Not aggressively. Just enough to shift in their seats, heads tilting in unison. acknowledging your part in the performance. One nods. Another opens its mouth. Dust pours out. You find the exit. The door no longer locked. You burst through it and collapse into a lower hallway, breath-catching, throat-hoarse. You don't remember screaming, but you must have, because blood lines your gums, and your hands are covered in dust. Venetian urban legends speak rarely of il pubblico vuoto, the empty audience. A ghostly crowd said to form in abandoned venues when a performance has waited too long for its final act. They say if you sit among them, you forget whether you are watching or being watched. You now know this is true, because as you lean against the wall, panting in the dark, you hear the mannequins clapping from inside your chest. You climb, not because you want to, but because something in the theater calls you upward now, some unseen pulley dragging at the softest threads of your mind. The stairs are narrow, wooden, and brittle, spiraling up the backstage wall like the ribs of some long-dead creature. Above you looms the fly loft, the highest point of the Teatro Malombra, where the ropes and counterweights hang like skeletal vines, and curtains rise like breaths drawn in reverse. You reach the landing. The door to the fly space is slightly ajar. A draft slips through, cold, dry, laced with dust and something else, old rope maybe, or old skin. You push the door open. The space yawns above the stage, like an inverted grave. Dozens of ropes dangle from the ceiling, thick hemp cords, stained dark, each tied to iron weights or rigging mechanisms. Some hang loose. Others are taut, trembling slightly, as if recently used. You hear nothing at first. Then a whisper. No, not a whisper. A rehearsal. A voice practicing lines beneath its breath, over and over, in the dark. You follow the sound through the tangle of ropes. The floor is slick with old grease and wax. Your foot slides. You grab one of the cords to steady yourself. It jerks. Something falls from above. A stage sandbag hits the floor beside you with a deep, wet thud. You flinch. It bursts. But it's not sand inside. You don't want to look. You do. Teeth. Dozens of them. Human. Filed, burned, polished. And each one engraved with a tiny note from sheet music. You step back. Another whisper brushes your ear. I missed your cue. You whirl. Nothing. Only a cluster of ropes slowly twisting in the still air. From far below, you hear the creak of the stage, someone walking across it. Heel, toe, heel, toe. You glance down through the slats in the fly loft's floor. You can see the stage. Empty. But the footsteps continue. And now, the ropes begin to sway. Not with wind, with rhythm. In time with the footsteps. Then, one of the ropes snaps. It whips upward, vanishing into the dark, and for a second you think it's recoiling from you. But then something falls. A shape. A figure. It drops silently and lands in the center of the stage with a sickening grace. A body. Dressed in costume, limp, masked. The orchestra pit echoes with soft applause. And the curtain begins to rise again. You blink. The body is gone. You are still above. The ropes now form a circle around you, drawn tight, closing in. You stagger to a rusted control panel near the wall. Levers labeled with fading letters. Scrim, main drop, thunder sheet, final line. One is already pulled. Final line. A fringe superstition among aging Venetian tech crews. Never mark a rope, final line. It invites the wrong kind of performance. They say one such rope is always cursed. The one used when the last performer of the night hangs themselves during a dress rehearsal. You pull that rope, and something comes back. From behind the panel, a drawer creaks open. Inside, a noose. Not coiled. Laid carefully. Resting. Waiting. You back away. The rope behind you brushes your neck. Not a tap. A caress. And then the whisper again. You're late. You scream. It echoes too loudly in the narrow space. And then stops midair. As if swallowed. You run, shoulder past the ropes, back toward the stairwell. As you descend, the whisper turns into humming. Familiar, the same aria you sang in the flooded chamber. You reach the bottom. Backstage is silent. Except for one thing. The curtain is now raised. And the audience is back. But they are all facing away from the stage. Toward the back wall. Toward you. Each mask now bears a tear of red paint beneath one eye. As if mourning. As if warning. A final stage direction is scrawled across the stage in charcoal. One must fall for the scene to begin. And far above, you hear the ropes swinging still. Scholars once dismissed the fly-loft hauntings of Italian opera houses as crew hallucinations brought on by vertigo, low oxygen, and repetitive motion. But those who experienced it all claimed the same sensation. That someone was always waiting above them. And sometimes, just below. The dressing room corridor welcomes you like a gallery of forgotten faces. Every wall is lined with shelves, and every shelf cradles masks, hundreds of them, some simple, others ornate. None smile. You've seen Venetian masks before in the shops and museums, but these are different. These feel unfinished, or rather abandoned mid-creation, eyes that are too wide, mouths sealed shut, paint that drips like blood under varnish. Each one has a nameplate beneath it. Most names you don't recognize. But then one stops you cold. Your own. The mask above it is still wet, as if freshly painted. You reach toward it and feel a sudden heat. The mask trembles, not vibrates, breathes. You snatch your hand back. From the end of the corridor, a faint scratching sound begins. Wood against wood, something dragging itself across the dressing room floor. You move deeper toward the sound. Around the corner, you find the old makeup studio, a place where the stars of the teatro once powdered their skin and lacquered their voices. Now it is a place of silence. The vanity mirrors are shattered in strange patterns. Starbursts, spiderwebs, spirals. Yet none reflect you clearly. In one, you have no eyes. In another, your mouth moves while yours remains closed. And in the largest mirror, you see yourself surrounded. Behind you, painted faces, watching. You spin. Nothing. Just the racks. But the masks have shifted. They are no longer neatly arranged. Now they are hung like hunting trophies, jaws agape, as if mid-scream or mid-song. You step back, and your shoulder brushes against a curtain. It falls away, revealing a narrow closet. Inside, mannequins, dressed in centuries-old costumes, stained with rust and age. Each one wears a mask that seems fused to its face. You step closer, drawn by the disturbing craftsmanship. Then movement. A mannequin's hand twitches. Another tilts its head. You freeze. One raises its arms slowly, mimicking the motion of donning a mask. Your pulse rises. On the closet wall, a message is etched into the wood with deep, claw-like gouges. Once worn, it becomes the only face they remember. You back out slowly. The door shuts behind you on its own. The air is tighter now. You can hear your own breathing, except it's not in sync with your chest. You lift your hand to your face. Your skin feels rough, papery, painted. You lunge for the nearest mirror. Your reflection blinks back. It wears a mask. Ivory, cracked, a faint red line across the lips like a stitched smile. You rip it away. But your reflection does not. You are no longer seeing yourself. You are watching something wear you. Your voice emerges from your throat, but the words are not yours. Not even in a language you know. It sounds like ritual, like invocation. The masks on the wall begin to whisper. They chatter among themselves. You hear your name. Once. Twice. Then nothing. The silence crushes you. You flee the room. The corridor stretches longer than before. You run. But the walls keep changing. Now lined not with masks, but faces. Preserved. Painted. Frozen. Each one has hollow eyes. Each one stares directly at you as you pass. At the end of the hall, A door opens. A workshop. Tables littered with molds, paint pots, unfinished masks hanging from string like drying fruit. A single mask rests on the table, half finished. It is unmistakably yours. Only the eyes are blank, as if waiting. A small note lies beside it. Final touch, memory. The lights dim. A whisper glides across your neck. You won't need the old one. You run again. Out of the workshop, down a fire escape, backstage again. But every surface now bears a painted face. The curtains have eyes. The floorboards smile. And the piano in the corner wears a mask. Scholars debate the use of ceremonial masking in pre-Renaissance Venetian rituals, particularly during times of plague and famine. Some say the mask was believed to hold the soul, keeping it from wandering. But if the soul was stolen, then the mask simply wore the person instead. And now, the masks are looking for someone new. You find the library behind a panel in the maestro's private dressing room, an unassuming stretch of wall that opens under your fingers with a hiss, revealing a staircase descending into dry silence. This passage hasn't been used in a long time, but something has maintained it. You descend. The air shifts around you like parchment crumbling in slow motion. You reach a chamber where the walls curve inward, the stone carved with musical bars instead of brick patterns. Each staff line holds not notes, but names. Thousands written in a looping musical hand. Some are crossed out, others fade as you look at them. The room smells of ink. Of fresh ink. At its center rests a grand lectern, obsidian, sharp-edged, lacquered in a gloss too dark to be dust. Upon it, a libretto, bound in red leather, sealed with a clasp. No title on the cover. Only one word, embossed into the skin-like surface. Sang. Blood. Your hand moves toward the clasp. It opens with a sigh. Inside, the pages writhe. At first, they appear blank. Then, as your shadow falls across them, the ink begins to rise, like blood seeping up through gauze. Staves appear, lyrics emerging in a language you should not understand, but do. The lines aren't instructions. They're commands. And the story. It's not a story. It's a binding. You begin to read. You don't want to, but you do. Your lips move. The room responds. You don't hear it. You feel it. The walls hum. The names begin to vibrate within the stone. Then, suddenly screaming. Soft at first. Not yours. The names. Each one begins to scream in your mind, as if their echoes were trapped in the bars themselves. You back away, but your feet are locked in place. The libretto turns a page on its own. A new section. The next act. Your name heads the cast list. You never gave it. You didn't need to. It was already written. The lyrics beneath your name are short. Bleed to be heard. Sing to be known. Silence is exile. You try to speak, but your throat is dry. The book offers no water. Just a pen. Dipped in something thick and dark. You take it. The page bleeds as you write. Each word pains your fingers, your jaw, your breath. As if the act of transcription is feeding something beneath the paper. A warm stain blossoms beneath the parchment. The ink smells familiar. Too familiar. You flip the book. One final page. A verse you didn't write. But it speaks in your voice. One voice for all. One mind for the stage. One ending, repeated forever. The room shakes. Dust falls from the ceiling. The names scream louder. And now, beyond the stone walls, you hear something knocking. From outside the chamber. From underneath the floor. The knock comes once, then again, then silence. Then a single perfect note. A soprano's pitch, the diva's voice. Rising from nowhere, or everywhere. You slam the book shut. Too late. The lights go out. The walls breathe. And when you blink, you are no longer in the library. You're back on stage, holding the libretto. The audience before you is endless. The maestro waits in the wings, nodding once. You look down. The pages are blank again. Except one. The one with your blood. It glows. And so do you. You begin to sing. Because you must. Because the song already lives inside you. Because silence is exile. The chandeliers above flicker with every note you sing. And the audience, they listen. Not with ears. With need. Venetian folklore tells of the cantistory maledetto, the cursed librettist, an anonymous writer said to have composed an opera so perfect, so true, that it required no instruments, only victims. No record of this opera exists. But they say it sings itself into the minds of the forgotten. You are no longer a performer. You are the parchment. And you are being written. You return to the upper tiers. But something is wrong. The staircases do not descend as they should. They spiral in the opposite direction now, upward, endlessly, as if the top of the Teatro has become a spiral tower with no summit. The banisters are warped. The lights flicker in rhythms you almost recognize, as if the walls themselves are breathing in time with some old, relentless waltz. You reach a landing you don't recall existing. A narrow hallway. A door at the end. Crimson. Brass-handled. No sign, no placard. Just the faint sound of applause leaking through. You step inside. The balcony is impossibly high. You should be above the rafters, above the dome. Yet the stage below is perfectly visible, as though distance itself bends to accommodate the view. Rows of seats curve around you, but all are empty. Except one. At the center, lit by a lone, sickly yellow spotlight. It faces the stage. And it waits. As you approach, the velvet underfoot pulses, softly. You sit. Not because you choose to. Because the chair demands it. The moment you make contact, the chair tightens. It locks. You cannot rise. The spotlight narrows on the stage. The curtain lifts. And you see yourself. Performing. Again. But differently. This version of you wears a mask, a cracked, smiling thing, painted with streaks of red that pulse with every note sung. The audience below, hundreds of masked silhouettes, sways as one. And then the performance ends. The curtain falls. And the you on stage bows. They look up. Toward you. And begin to climb. You thrash in the chair. It doesn't budge. From the corners of the balcony, you see movement. Figures in tattered formal wear emerging from behind the curtains, from trapdoors in the walls, from within the seats themselves. They fill the rows, one by one, all facing forward now, all toward you. Each one bears a face you've worn in dreams, versions of yourself you've forgotten, or were made to forget. The last one to enter carries a program. They set it in your lap. You look down. Tonight's performance, the final witness. Cast, you. Only you. You feel your chest tighten. Not with fear, but with a dreadful certainty. You've seen this balcony before. Not from this angle, but from the stage. You've looked up here, searching. And now you know who you were searching for. Yourself. This is the watcher's chair. The last seat of judgment. And once you sit here, you do not leave. Below, the stage resets. The overture begins. The play starts again. Only this time, you are not the performer. You are the audience. The only audience. And the performer is another you, slightly different. Younger, maybe. Less broken. They sing with terror in their eyes. They do not know they are being watched. You do. And your hands begin to move, without will. Clapping. Applauding. For them. Because you know what happens next. You've seen it. You've been it. And now, from somewhere behind your chair, a new one is placed. A second watcher will soon arrive. You feel it. There is always another. Always one more. You are not the first to sit in this balcony. You will not be the last. Scholars dismiss the watcher's balcony, legend as poetic metaphor, a way to cope with the anonymity and terror of theatrical performance. But deep in the renovation records of Venice's oldest theaters, There are blueprints that show hidden upper galleries never seen by the public. Some claim these are mistakes. Others know they are audiences, built for those who can no longer leave. The lights never dim. They pulse. You sit frozen in the balcony, watching yourself take a final bow again. The curtain falls again, and yet it doesn't stop. The stage resets like a wound that refuses to clot. A fresh figure steps into your place. Not quite you, but close enough. Their voice catches on the first note. You lean forward, involuntarily aching to warn them, but you can't. Your lips are sealed. No longer with fear, but with something older. Obligation. The audience beside you begins to grow once more. You hadn't noticed how many had joined. Each one eerily still, each face turned to the stage, each with a subtle but unmistakable resemblance to you. A chamber of echoes. A mausoleum of selves. The performance stumbles. The singer, your newest iteration, falters, forgets a line. A hush falls so heavy it bruises the air. And then, a note rings out. Clear. Sharp. Correct. From your mouth. You didn't mean to sing it. But the aria lives inside you now. Below, the figure on stage looks up, eyes wide. They've heard you. You've broken the veil. Your fellow watchers begin to shift in their seats. Heads turning toward you. Slow, synchronized. Their mouths part in unison. Not to sing. To whisper. A single word. Encore. The velvet curtain rises again. The stage changes. No longer a theater. Now it's a reflection of the dressing room, then the flooded chamber, then the mask gallery, flashing scenes from every horror you've walked through, like acts in a final opera collapsing into themselves. And at the center, a mirror. In it, a figure trapped behind glass, pounding in silence. You recognize them. They are the first you. The version that walked into this opera house hours, or was it years ago? Trapped now behind the pane, forever watching, forever learning the lines. And in that moment, you understand. There is no end. Not because the play continues, but because the audience is the stage. You were never the guest. You were the performance. And the maestro. He was just the first one to accept it. The mask is in your hand now. You don't remember picking it up. You place it over your face. Not because you want to. Because it fits. Perfectly. And the voice returns. A whisper behind your eyes. Once the aria begins, it cannot be unsung. The maestro steps into the wing, nods to you, and gestures toward the spotlight. It doesn't matter that your limbs tremble. You rise. You descend. You step onto the stage. And this time, the applause is thunderous. The audience is no longer masked. They are faceless because they are waiting for yours. The final note rises in your throat. It's beautiful, terrible, endless. And as it leaves your lips, you vanish. The theater falls silent. And far above, in the watcher's balcony, a new seat is filled. You are already seated, watching, and the next begins. But now the aria softens. The final note fades, drifting upward like dust caught in a stage light, glimmering for just a moment before vanishing into shadow. The theater, too, dims. The applause has stopped. Not because the performance ended. No, it never truly does. But because the moment to remember has passed. And what remains is that uncertain hush, the silence between acts, the breath held before the next soul steps forward. You sit quietly now. Or perhaps you lie in your bed, staring into the dark corner of your room, wondering if somewhere, just beyond your wall, a stage is being set, a mask polished, a note tuned perfectly. You might try to forget what you've heard tonight, dismiss it as dream, story, suggestion. But the Teatro Malombra does not forget. Its velvet halls and flooded stages exist in memory and myth alike. And sometimes, if you listen closely, you might hear a faint hum beneath your floorboards. A single, sustained note, impossibly distant yet unsettlingly near. A voice still singing, still searching. And if you should ever find yourself in Venice, standing before an opera house you swear you don't remember reading about, its windows dark, its door slightly ajar, ask yourself one final question. Who's performing tonight? And do not, under any circumstances, accept the mask offered to you. Because once it touches your face, the encore begins again. Good night, nightmares. Sleep gently. And if you hear applause as you drift off, whatever you do, don't stand up. End of script. Pleasant nightmares.